Delhi. Namaskar, everybody. Thank you so much for having us. This is a place where I can see everybody very young, and there's going to be some fantastic energy throughout the day today. Thank you so much for everybody to come to our summit for engineering services in hospitals, healthcare. So I'm going to start with discussing quality. The theme of today's entire day is going to be emphasis on quality, how we see the way architecture in hospitals is going to be making a difference in the future generations, or it has been continuing, especially at Hosmac, the way we have moved to plan with an essential infusion of understanding how patient spaces thrive, how hospitals grow, how we accommodate people. What is that?
Move the slides.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so quality is something which is subjective, very inherent in us people, everybody, architects especially. We are taught to make spaces, places comfortable for human beings. And when it comes to hospital design, we tend to emphasize on how patient centricity and patient comfort and healing gets combined to bring about very useful, living, homely architecture. So let's begin. Which button do I use here? These ones at the bottom?
Green.
Okay. So when we begin to design a building, we usually start with concept design. There is a core conceptual design which comes into the minds of the architect after a briefing is given. What drives this design are setbacks and building orientations and regulations, and then there are licenses, approvals, and the sizing, etc. of the hospital that one has to mold the building to its final form. So what I have over here is a very complicated slide with a lot of text, but we are going to be talking about, I can read from there, yeah. There are, is there a hand mic?
Yes, I'll.
So a core conceptual design, a quality building will have setbacks, orientation, which takes Vastulite ventilation. There are municipal bylaws, NBC applications, very, very important, because that is what really drives how codes need to be maintained. Everybody, I think, here knows that. So what goes into vertical cores, I'm going to be discussing in other slides. Staircase specifics, then location of doors, lift specifics, which are the different kinds of elevators which come in a hospital. Now, this is of great value when we design hospitals, because there are different sizes, different cores, different places where people enter, visitors enter, doctors need to be segregated, there has to be a dirty and a clean core, etc. All these segregations bring in what we think puts together a hospital. Then we move on to very important, the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing organization in a hospital. We usually put these things in places where one thinks, okay, we need to place an AHE room close to a department, but if we are able to stack these MEP rooms in vertical core or in all the vertical cores, and very selectively through experience of the architect, that is where we are doing wholesome work, and at the same time we are able to bring in quality and cutting down time, and this comes through experience. Then if I move on, then there is accessibility to the placement of these vertical cores. The location of the fire room and CCTV monitoring room. Then location of the services of transformers, DGs, electrical, these are very critical. To redo some work in a hospital, one needs to know how the nerves of the hospital work. Then location of stores, kitchen stores, essentials, material management stores, clinical stores, and medical records, all these have very specific places. We just cannot place them anywhere in the hospital. So let me just move on to the next slide. So I was just talking about how to stack and put a hospital together, but nevertheless, what comes to the fore also is for an architect to understand how the building will react to climate. So here is a slide where we are talking about the building orientation. The south side of the hospital should be lesser in length and less exposed to the south in India, of course. That's the northern hemisphere. And the east too can be lesser, but the north side can be open to a lot of sunlight, which is pretty okay. So this is part of where we tend to give to the site and the place. This can get neglected if the site is not favoring such orientation. Then there is a quick orientation analysis which gets done by the architect's team. In the summer, we get to see the solar radiation analysis. All this comes along in a design which is looking towards giving and delivering with quality. Then there is licenses and approvals and applicable bylaws, which is our Bible. Then I'm going to move on to something where we are talking about hospital design thoughts, which again are constantly in the mind of the architect. There is something which is an everlasting debate, whether the form follows function and what follows and which one leads. Now the thing is that in case we are doing a greenfield building, a greenfield hospital, which is we're constructing a new hospital on a plot of land, then obviously we will work with this paradigm, form follows function. In case we have a brownfield building, what do? We already have a form and we have to fit in the function. There comes in our ability to really give the best and the quality that we intend for the patients which get housed in that building. So this conundrum will always be on, but nevertheless, hospitals are unique, special buildings and are designed from inside out primarily, and we'll do our best in brownfield buildings to get the function working well with the form. Okay, the next is key factors in design. There is the site and there is a size and which determines the floor plate and hence the floor composition. There is an approach which determines placement of functions like emergency department is on the ground floor. Services like entrances and service block location, staff entrance, morgue access. Now there is a demand. There needs to be a facility mix which forms the backbone of the hospital design. After the facility mix, we get the space program. There is a budget, there is a hospital size, there are hospital finishes, what level of luxury and or simple finishes can be planned out. There are other factors also which go into really making something of quality. There is a budget, etc., etc. There is an architectural equipment, HR, and a running cost budget. There is the built-up area, which is defined by how much the hospital is going to be built, number of beds. We can define where the hospital is, in which city, what type. And then there is the space program. Space program is something which is very, very important. We get to know what goes into the hospital. Then there are some positive distractions. Who enters the hospital? We have to take care of those people. There are also emotions entering the hospital. What are the elements of positive distractions? There can be a personalized pattern. Excuse me, can I get some water? Yeah, thank you. There could be various elements, sustainability, evidence-based design. We could do design with respect to what we have already got back from the society, which means religious considerations. Thank you. Yeah, thanks. So I'm just trying to bring to everybody's notice over here how necessary it is to be humane in housing people, in defining and developing and designing quality. Now, when we go on to see how the form is decided, you may notice, I would have loved to have that. No. This is a pointer also? This one? Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is, this is a thin part of a hospital building, which has a lot of three-sided light and ventilation possibility. This is a good way of putting hospitals with a single spine over there in the form. And the courtyards bring in natural light. But ventilation will restrict a little if it is completely, totally air-conditioned. Further on, what we are able to see is that if this side is facing south, we are naturally shading the insides. Over here is more or less the same composition, but these are design ideas which, of course, one develops through a lot of experience. And then we come to a monoblock atrium pattern where the internal is still shaded and also gives diffuse light to the inside. Now, we have a hospital coming up in one of our Punjab state, in the Punjab state. This side is north. And this being south, you can see it is beautifully cut. It just makes the building more energy efficient, better use for people, and likewise. So form is very important when we design our hospitals. The form typology section here also is more or less the same thing that I just spoke about. The functional program, space program, and vertical cores are very, very valuable in a hospital. Function program decides what goes into the hospital, whether it's a super specialty or it is a primary care or it is a multi-specialty hospital. What is the brief of the client is the functional program. The space program is something which gives you information about each and every room in the hospital. I think we know about functional programming. All these form the basis of the DBR, architectural DBR of the hospital, and aid to the quality. This is the example of how we take this document across with the client and get him to tick off what goes into the hospital in terms of clinical services. Space programming, of course, is, I've already spoken about it twice. Vertical cores, there are common elements which I keep insisting in this studio and at our office, which go into the vertical cores. These are the vertical circulation routes. Lifts, staircases, fire ramp, and escalators, and next to them should be housed the utilities, the public toilets, staff toilets, electrical room, ELV room, HE room, and shafts, necessarily. And shafts should be accessible from the corridors. So based on the occupancy and the NBC, excuse me, these can be established. The vertical cores here is an example where one is able to see all the shafts are near the corridors. These lifts, this is a service lobby. All the shafts again, a fireman's lobby and staircase. Further on, I'll show you that there is the HE room, the electrical room, all stacked in one place. These are very good places and positions for services to be placed in a hospital. Segregation is another very important factor to establish a quality building. We have actually seen these things happen in hotels, in IT buildings, even in malls. The dirty vertical core of lifts will not take public. There are visitors separated out in another vertical core of the lifts. So patients and visitors, segregation, doctors, nurses, and patients can be combined together. Services like supplies to kitchen, laundry, material handling need to be separated out in another vertical core. Administration staff movement, and fire personnel, of course, the fire lift I had spoken about earlier. The hospital grid. The hospital grid is a factor where a hospital, any hospital is designed up to down. This is something very rare that you get. We always design a hospital with a patient room. Then suddenly our mind must move down to the basement. And once we are able to establish the kind of cars we are going to put, automatically, trust me, the OT will fit in. We have to take care where we are placing the cores, but hospitals are designed from top to bottom, never from bottom or midway. So here I've quickly given, there are a lot of people clicking photographs, so I'll just move on. So the same design is able to be multi-use. The same grid can take a single room, can take a twin, can take a suite, can take VIP or a ward. The grid is sacrosanct, and it is a very beautiful mechanism. So overall patient safety are something like, and this is quality, where we look into noise reduction, scalability, visibility of patients and staff. The way we place nurse stations, especially in ICUs, is of great value, where visibility comes important, an important factor to look out at patients, even in IPD situations, even in OPD. So standardization is of great value. We need to minimize fatigue. Oh, I rarely hear this, but I must say, the people who serve the hospital need to be taken care of. We need to reduce very long corridors for them to walk. 24 hours, let's say a two-time shift, but they are putting in 24. Doctors are running from one place to the other. We need to build a little more concise hospitals. If we do what the Americans or let's say the Western world is doing, then we are planning very large spaces, and we need to put in that many more doctors, that many more staff. And in India, thoda dhyan rakhe, toilets, sitting spaces for human beings, for staff. We really need to take care of the staff. I have worked or designed hospitals, and there is a dipping of quality there. The client does not want to give change rooms for staff, neither toilets. How humane is that? That's something which goes beyond me. That's not quality. ध्यान रखिए हमको अपना कर्तव्य with respect to our teachings, what we can do for human beings. We must give spaces for doctors, for staff, for support staff. And of course, we always take care of patients. We talk about patients, and we are doing very good hospitals. What about the people who are working in the hospital? So please do remember that. So I'm going to move on. There are these design accreditation and guidelines which are also very important, but to reach to these, one needs to put in a lot more area in the hospital, so let's be liberal, and that's quality. Hospital design advices from the experience. I think, please take photograph. It's too long. So have I gone beyond, Dr. Desai? So there are fire codes. Staircases to be planned as per NBC codes. That's very important. The way the population in India is, and the hospitals when they get filled, and if there, God forbid, is an emergency, the staircases must be designed with respect to codes, which again enhances quality of the hospital. Bed lifts need to be the right number with respect to the size of the hospital, whether it's 100 bed or 200 bed or 600 bed or 2,000 bed, but the bed lifts and the lifts need to be with respect to what goes in the hospital. So wet areas like toilets are a no-no above the operation theaters, the radiology rooms, the ICUs, big no-nos. But we often see them, so that is where quality needs to get checked. It will be essential to include planning of electromechanical, which is MEP services, rooms and shafts at concept stage. बाद में नहीं डालना. शुरुआत से हमको अपने साथियों के साथ चलना है, the engineers. The engineers think architects know very little, but we need to trust our engineers, also architects, and we need to walk with them from the beginning. They don't come later. Horizontal circulation ought to be planned as clean line corridors. Meandering corridors are not good in hospitals. Now, vertical circulation must take I've already spoken about that. Segregation of these vertical cores must be for patients, doctors, staff, service personnel, and visitors coming in. Phew. Thank you. I've just not been doing too well with my health, but I love to speak on healthcare architecture. I've been with Hosmac for 20 years, and it's been one of the best, beautiful journeys. And we are strong. We are moving with the new generation. And you will see this seminar is going to be very power-packed as they come up. Guys, okay, thank you very much. Namaskar, and God bless.